So here's what you can expect from today's session with one of our amazing ambassadors, Prayas. We'll go through a quick introduction. That way you can get to know your dedicated ambassador team if we haven't met you already. We'll hear from one of our most successful ambassadors, Prayas, who's based in the UK. And then we'll get to all of the questions that you submitted at the time of registration. So we've got a jam-packed agenda. Let's jump right in. If you have any questions throughout this session, please feel free to leverage that chat box below, and we'll try to answer your questions as we go. So for those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Melissa. I lead the program's recruitment and onboarding efforts here, and I'm so excited to get you started on your ambassador journey. I'd like to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Jimmy, who supports ambassador success and engagement. So Jimmy, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Looking forward to sharing some best practices and connecting in the future. You may see some outreach from me in the near future from our newsletters and some insights reports.
So together, both of us will be your dedicated ambassador team, supporting you as you continue on your journey. So again, we're really excited that you're able to join us today. Now that you've heard from us, we'd love to hear from you. So in the chat box, we'd love to see your name, where you're joining us from. It's always great to see how our ambassador community has grown over the last few months. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Definitely see some familiar faces and folks that we've connected with. Kate, Sabrina, welcome. It's so good to see you guys.
This is in Austin, Texas.
Nice. Central coast of California. Definitely welcome, guys. Tallahassee. Nice. Do we have any folks from outside the States during today's session? We definitely have some wonderful Australians who will be joining at a more friendly time zone at a later date. But it's always amazing to see where our ambassadors are coming from. You guys are among the best hosts that we have on the platform, and it's always really cool to see where we have that presence. So without further ado, let's jump into our ambassador spotlight. So as you get started on your ambassador journey, we're so excited to be able to showcase one of the best ambassadors that we have. So I'd love to introduce you to Prayas. He's a 20-time superhost in the UK. He co-hosts 110 properties around the world. And if that's not enough, he also has a full-time job and is a great dad too. So he connects with people looking for help on online freelancing websites like Fiverr, local property investment groups, and also teaches folks how to host on his website, bnbspecialist.com. So I definitely love all of the questions that many of you guys had submitted. How does he do it all? So really excited to be able to welcome you again. Prayas, take it away. We're so excited to hear from you.
Thank you, Melissa, and hello, everyone. I started hosting my first apartment, which is the one you can see on screen, in 2016, December. So it's exactly 4 years. That was my first Airbnb experience. And I always knew that I'm going to carry on doing my job, but I just needed something on the side. So when I was setting up this property, I documented everything from spoons to mattresses, everything. I created a list of items I purchased for this property. Also, I was automating as much as I can, like telling the cleaners to come, go, messaging with the guest. So I created a template, which then I applied to another property 6 months later, and it worked again. It was a huge success personally for me, and I was able to do it along with my job. And then I realized, well, if I keep buying properties like this, soon I will run out of money. And I thought, in this process, I have created something which I can reach out to other people and show it to them, like, this is how you can do it too. I started reaching out to people around me, It was difficult because I just had 2 Airbnb properties and 6 months of experience on Airbnb. It was tough. People wouldn't listen to me in the beginning. Then what I started doing was I started reaching out to people in my circle, in my friends, my relatives, saying, look, I have this formula. Would you host? I will support you. I will give you a full list of items you can purchase. You don't have to do anything. I'll go with you shopping, but just start it. And I was doing it for 2 purposes. One was obviously helping them. The second was I wanted to co-host their properties because I wanted to build an experience for myself. Like if I have 10 properties on my profile and then I talk to someone saying, look, I can help you, they will listen to me. So that was my initial plan. I somehow convinced to manage about 10 of my friends and relatives to start hosting on Airbnb. So that was start of my ambassador journey. With 10 co-hosted listings on my Airbnb, then it became, you know, if I'm talking to someone, I show them my Airbnb profile, they will listen to me. Uh, People have lots of apprehensions, right from, if they will have all kinds of questions depending on who you're talking to. It could be a landlord who's got 50 properties. It could be someone who just wants to share a bedroom in their house. They will have lots of questions. And if you've not, in my experience, if I hadn't done it myself, I wouldn't be able to answer those questions effectively. So that's how I had this experience with me. People will ask me, look, if my cleaner doesn't turn up, what am I going to do? Or if there is a party in my property, what am I going to do? Or if the the guest destroys my property, what am I going to do? So I had experienced all those things, and I think that really helped me answer their queries very effectively. Uh, so once I had that 10 critical mass, I started reaching out to people in local property meetings, because that's where local people were coming who had lots of properties, or they were going to buy a property for investment, or they were just trying to explore what's out there. It was very easy once I had 10 co-hosted properties, and I wasn't making any money from those. I was just, I wanted to build that profile. I was just helping my friends and relatives and whoever it was. But when I go to those property, they would give you a chance to express or represent yourself. I would go in there and say, look, I'm a local co-host. I started a year back. I have 10 properties. I'm helping people. I can help you too if you're considering Airbnb. Uh, so locally, I started. It was going okay, but then I thought, well, I need to speed it up because it was going good. I was getting a lot of people interested in the whole project. I started reaching out on Fiverr. Created just a generic gig, they call it, on Fiverr, which is the freelancing platform. People find you can find anyone, any skill you're looking for. And I just created a general gig which said, I will advise you on your Airbnb queries. And I think after some time, I started receiving people's queries asking, how do I do it? How do I start it? And that was my aha moment. And I think after that, most of my referrals and people I'm still co-hosting, are from Fiverr and these online platforms. Uh, and what I do, which is quite unique, I believe, is I not only introduce them to Airbnb, I also offer them that I will co-host with you for free for 1 month, because I'm getting paid from Airbnb. I tell them right up front that this is what I'm getting from Airbnb, but in return, I'm going to help you for free for 1 month, and I will help you set it up as well. Yeah, so that is how it started. Sorry, Melissa, I took a bit of time, but it was the brief of where I am now in Airbnb.
No, I love this. So you essentially positioned yourself as an Airbnb consultant
Yeah.
on Fiverr, on a freelancing site. which has been awesome. We definitely see that you've been able to connect with a lot of new hosts around the world and get them started on the Airbnb platform, which I imagine is quite rewarding to you. I'm so curious, when did you start your hosting website, B&B Specialist? Did that come after Fiverr? Did you notice that there was a lot of interest from that freelancing website and how you were connecting with people? Is that how you started to create B&B Specialist?
Exactly. So I started it last year because there were a lot of questions. People, not everyone was coming to Fiverr. I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of people just Googling that information. And I thought, well, why don't I just create a website as well where people can just find me on Google as well? It has been extremely successful. I'm answering a lot of questions people have on my website once they go to the content, once they're comfortable with, what I'm talking about is, I know what I'm talking about. They reach out to me with their queries, and then I take them on their journey from there on.
That's great. I'm going to add that link to the chat box. That way everyone can take a look at that at a later date. But I love that you've kind of streamlined all of the questions that you get from new hosts to be able to showcase and really share all of these tips with the masses. So have you found that B&B Specialist has also been a really great way to connect with people who are landing on your website and have raised their hands to say, I'm really interested in hosting. What do next steps look like? Can you tell us more about your online presence and how you connect with new leads and kind of support them through that process?
So it's interesting. It's not just new hosts. I'm connecting with new travelers as well who are new to Airbnb. They just see a face who's got a profile and they ask me queries. Look, I'm going to travel. Is it okay? Is it safe to travel on Airbnb? And coming back to hosts, I think it's been incredible. One of the key idea when I was starting this website was I'm going to tell people how they can minimize the amount of time they spend on managing their Airbnb. I've published a list of items they need to purchase when setting it up. I've published the messaging templates they should be using, which basically kills the queries in the long run upfront. You send them this message, provide them all these sections. They will answer most of the queries people will have at different stage of when they're coming to stay in your property. I'm telling them tools they can use if you're researching on internet where you want to start. I'm telling them this is the tool, these are the 4 websites you can go to, do your research. If you want to automate messaging, this is where you can do that. If you want to find an interior designer for your property, this is where you can do that. So all those websites which I had spent years in finding over the time, and I found them reliable, I'm sharing them all on my website. So which is creating a lot of credibility in someone coming to my website and having a look. They get the message that I'm an experienced host myself.
Can definitely tell that you put a lot of love and care in that website. The fact that you've optimized all of these resources, I imagine, makes it really helpful for your new host to get started. When you are sharing your journey, I saw a lot of our other ambassadors nodding their head, and I imagine that many of you guys are also experiencing that. We know, that being a host, there's always a bit of a learning curve. And that's the beauty of the ambassador program. All of our ambassadors are hosts themselves and are recognized as being some of the best hosts that we have around the world. So being able to share these best practices and really set our new hosts up for success is really what we're trying to achieve here for the ambassador program. So really great that you've been able to kind of streamline these tips, these resources for each of your referrals. I'm so curious, can you walk us through an example of someone that you may have met on Fiverr and have been working with them, supporting with them to go live? Do you have any success stories that kind of come to mind?
Yeah, I have someone in Canada I met in November last year, so it's almost 12 months. He was new to Airbnb. I started helping him, and I'm still co-hosting him. And he's moved on from one property to 35 properties in 1 year. And I believe that is because of the level of automation I could help him with, and also the research how to find a property. He is purchasing properties. And a lot goes to his expertise as well. He's local. He knows the market. He knows how to get properties in the market. So yeah, that one stands out clearly. Another one, I met someone on Fiverr in Bali. They had one villa, and now they are moving on to their ninth villa in 2 years' time. Just because it opened their eyes to what they can do. And it's not just starting an Airbnb and automating it. It's about giving the best experience to the people who are coming to stay in your property, and that snowballs very, very quickly with reviews and everything. And that really excites people once you get them rolling.
I couldn't agree more. I think everyone here understands the benefits of quality and really making sure that guest experience comes first and
Yeah.
really investing in that. Congratulations on those two hosts. I mean, to start from Fiverr, where someone's reaching out to you and raising their hand, or you're connecting with them saying, hey, I'm a consultant, here's my level of expertise, from one listing, even one phone call, right, to 35 properties over a year is amazing. So I mean, job well done. That's without you, we would not have those homes on Airbnb. So I think that really is a testament to the power of our ambassadors, right? Being able to find the right community and being able to share all those hosting best practices, your expertise with people. There's a chance that that host in Bali, if they hadn't clicked on your link on Fiverr, that we wouldn't have those 9 properties. So I think that's something very, very special. So thank you for that. We've got about 10 minutes left, so I want to make sure that we get a chance to answer the questions that you guys submitted at the time of registration. Many of you guys submitted questions about the ambassador program, submitted questions about how to be an even better host. For this workshop, we're just going to focus specifically on the ambassador questions. But of course, now that you've met Jimmy and myself, we are always happy to help support you and ensure your continued success. So let's jump in. I think the number one question, Prayas, that I got was, how do you do it all? Truly, you've got a full-time job, you've got your consulting business, you've got 110 homes that you co-host. We've already heard how you got started, but anything else to add here? Any best practices that you can share with all of our other ambassadors?
I would say, I always believed in work on the business, not work in the business. So if you're spending all your time, messaging guests or, messaging your cleaners, you're spending in the business, which is not what you want. A lot of these things computers can do nowadays. That's why I use automation as much as I can. Obviously, there is a personal touch needed. So I do communicate with guests at certain times, but everything else is a mechanical process. You can automate it. I'm managing 110 properties, and I'm spending about 2 hours every day when I'm home. So yeah, automation is the key for me being able to do this part time.
That's awesome. Can I ask, do you also automate your outreach as well? I completely understand the application with co-hosting 110 properties. You absolutely have to be able to scale that. But when you're connecting with people on Fiverr, when you're connecting with them through your website or social media, do you leverage templates or some type of other resources to help you with connecting with new leads as well?
I think, yes, I do use certain discretion because in the beginning I found people were talking to me for hours and, eventually they would just turn away, which wasn't most efficient use of my time. So I do use a funnel, you can say, when I'm speaking to someone. I would send them a message to check whether they're serious about it, what have they got, or are they just, spending time online. So yes, I do use a funnel with message templates whenever I'm speaking to someone online to see whether they're, committed. Is there an intent for really start business or somebody just gathering information?
Have you noticed that there's a certain formula? So, for example, maybe you reach out to someone via Facebook group, and you notice that they have preliminary interest, but maybe you don't hear from them for some time. Do you follow up with them? How do those conversations typically happen? Can you provide some more context to that?
I do, yeah, I do follow up with them a month or so later, but I don't after that because once I've followed with them after a month or so, they know I'm there, I'm around, and I'm waiting for them. Uh, yes, but they do have different kinds of questions if you speak to them a month later or if you speak to them 6 months later, because they would have thought more about it. Their thought process would have gone further down the line. It's all about. I've had a host who was thinking about it for 12 months, and all through those months, their thoughts were getting more and more confident, but they had more and more apprehensions about different stuff. Eventually they were talking about how the lock is going to work, if someone breaks into the lock, or if I'm not around, what is going to happen. So I think that's where, because I was experienced host, I could answer those questions effectively, and that really calmed them down. And you know I was co-hosting with them for 1 month, which really helped them as well. I believe if you're offering someone your support for first 1 month, that really pushes them over the line if they are just at the edge waiting to jump in.
A really good call. I think there are some nuggets in there of gold. The first is don't be shy to connect with people multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you offer to co-host and be there, I think you definitely go above and beyond what folks are looking for. That's an amazing resource. So everyone on the line, you don't necessarily have to co-host, but just being there and having that hosting expertise, I think really gives new hosts the confidence. So I love that you've also experienced that.
Just the
Um,
takeaway there, I noticed that that first month is so crucial in the
Yeah.
engagement because they're just getting set up. So the fact that you're reaching out with them in that first month and just following up because they're interested in that initial first month, and it's definitely a strategy that helps. It seems.
Definitely. We all know, again, that hosting, there's always a bit of a learning curve. So however we can apply that super host expertise is awesome. I think we've already answered these two questions. So for the sake of time, I'm going to continue moving forward. I love this question. What methods do you use to connect with potential hosts outside of your sphere? So you've already talked about Fiverr. You've already talked about your the amazing website that you've created. But do you potentially connect with people in person? Are there other ways that you kind of look outside of your immediate community to connect with potential hosts?
So yeah, I do go to these property network meetings or other networking meetings where business minds are getting together. Nowadays, most of these meetings are online because of COVID, but yeah, I still do go there, represent myself. If and most of these meetings, they in the end they will give everyone a chance to give say about them for a minute or so, and that's 1 minute. I go in, introduce myself, and say, if you need any help, if you're thinking of Airbnb, speak to me. I'll answer all your queries. And then usually about 4 or 5 guys, they will raise their hands and I take them aside and talk to them collectively and then
That's definitely
filter out from there.
a great opportunity to get connected with some serious leads. How did you even find these networking groups? If you had any words of advice for the rest of our ambassadors on the line, how did you find these different types of networking spheres to be able to even participate in those?
I don't know about outside the UK, but in UK we do have. You do hear a lot about these things. If you are a newspaper, if you read newspaper, you will see lots of these advertisements. They will say we are hosting a seminar. Join us for free for a 1 hour session. That is how I found all these local networks. Reading a newspaper, finding an ad, and joining that webinar, and in the end, just represent myself.
That's definitely a great call out to get creative and offer your services. The best thing that could happen is that you've got, multiple leads to connect with. And the worst is that you've established yourself. You may have not gotten, as many leads, but at least you've put yourself out there, and certainly being able to share the fact that you are an official Airbnb ambassador. If someone who isn't immediately ready to join will definitely think of you throughout that process. If they're just in their very beginning stages, it's kind of like courting new leads, right? Like you had connected, Prayas, with a host for months before they even decided to make that move. So just continually getting yourself out there and positioning yourself as the hosting experts that you guys are, I think is really helpful. So great recommendations there. Another question is, I don't want to seem spammy. How do you share the benefits of hosting without spamming people? What's your secret?
I think it's depending on who you're talking to. So if I'm speaking to a landlord who does regular tenancy, the traditional tenancy, if you tell them that you don't have access to your property, you need to take an appointment to go there, and 6 months down the line you find someone has destroyed your kitchen or your bathroom, they will listen to you after that. It's about comparing what you would get in Airbnb, and I very quickly tell them, if you're hosting Airbnb, you can go and live there. You can block your calendar. You can go there 3 times a week. Your property will be well maintained. Cleaners will be going in there 3 times a week. Any issue you will know straight away, rather than waiting for your tenant to tell you. So if a landlord if anyone is an experienced landlord, he will understand what I'm talking about, because every landlord eventually has to repair their kitchen or bathroom 5 years or every 6 years because the tenant didn't tell them. So that is one thing. If you are, if someone has a room to share, obviously, you tell them these are the advantages. Obviously, you can choose who's going to come and stay because you're sharing a property. But yes, you can make some extra bucks by sharing a room or even a couch.
That's great. So what I'm hearing is really having confidence in your expertise and being able to shift that mindset to providing value, right? Like you definitely frame your conversations differently depending on the type of new host, whether that be a landlord, whether that be someone who's thinking about buying a home and getting started on Airbnb. The way that you share those benefits based on your personal expertise really gives you that confidence to connect with people and just share authentically. So I think that's a really great reminder for everyone here that you guys are all super hosts for a reason. You're doing something great on the platform. We've recognized you for that. And being able to share that with other people is a real gift. A lot of times when we're bringing on new ambassadors, they're like, where was this program when I was getting started? I myself am a new host. I just got started in San Francisco. And by learning from the ambassadors that have come before us and the hosts that have shared those best practices, it is really such a gift to be able to get started on a different level, and being able to take all of those great best practices that you guys have cultivated over the years is something really special for this community. So I know we're at time. Prayas, thank you so much for joining us today and just letting us tap into all of your best practices and your expertise here. So just wanted to say thank you again. To everyone on the line, we hope we were able to get to give you some inspiration from one of the best ambassadors that we have, right? So we look forward to your continued success. We've got 2 additional sessions coming up with very different ambassadors. So you've heard from Prayas, you've talked about, connecting with freelancing sites, leveraging your own website for hosting tips and hospitality. We have Caitlin coming up next, who's a realtor, and she is able to connect with people one-on-one in her community. And she's created some amazing amenity guides on Amazon for all of her new hosts to be able to streamline that onboarding experience. We also have Rob, who has created an awesome YouTube channel specifically for unique listings. But both ambassadors, definitely bring a lot of value. So all 3 of our spotlights this December have completely different strategies, and we know that you guys are going to find some inspiration for each of your communities. So on behalf of everyone here at Airbnb, thanks so much for being a great ambassador. If you have any questions moving forward, please feel free to email us at ambassadors@airbnb.com. Now that you've met Jimmy and myself, we are here to help support you guys along the way. So thank you again for joining us wherever you're dialing in from all over the world. But thank you guys again, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session.